Yep.
Stand for prayer, please. Praise God. Our Heavenly Father, as we come here this morning, we come before you. We want to thank you for all your many, many blessings in life. We want to thank you, Lord, for watching over us, being with our first responders, Lord, and being with our employees at the courthouse. We just ask a special hand of guidance and protection over them. Heavenly Father, give us the knowledge and wisdom to make the right decisions that our county may grow and prosper. And Lord, and we just give you the glory for that. We ask this in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, all the members are present. We want to move to, call the meeting to order. You got anything to change on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm going to respond to the letter from Delegate Hildebrand to the West Virginia Public Service Commission under CDBG, assigning Mr. Root. You need the showers taken off of the agenda, or do you have anything with that, taking that off the agenda? That's what we had on last one. And then under new business, the approval of the new hires, and then we have a couple people wishing to speak to their terms.
Okay. Chairman, motion to approve the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda. Second that. No, take a moment to go to the minutes.
Fun or?
Then we got Office of the Sheriff monthly report. Anything to add to that? Any extra money for us? Do you? Three. Office of Assessor. Little bit. We're not a lot, but Dog warden. We had. Surprise. We give away 13 dogs, 20 cats.
While she was doing that report, we had to order her a new typewriter.
Oh, the typewriter. Do they still make typewriters?
You can still buy it from Amazon. I think she went to Lawrence office to do the report. Then I ordered her.
So I really encourage this.
Trust me.
And, the regional jail bill this month, $38,247.04.
Skipped up a little bit.
It's, trust me, it's lower than what it was 10 years ago.
Well, in some of the counties, we was hearing a couple $100,000 a month.
Yeah. Ours used to be 50, 60, 70.
It was up to 98.
I didn't see that was before I was here, but I've seen it up in the 50s.
Jason County ones that their jail bill was $200,000.
Was it Berkeley?
Berkeley County, he told me that, yeah. They're running several $1 million a year. They're Panthers. We, and I don't mean this against you, Rick, we as counties is paying something that the state should be paying.
I know, we've had this conversation. Probably about. But.
Well, I was told by a House representative that was in the House at the time that bill passed, that it did exist. Now, of course, that's like a lot of things. You talk to some of the, while one big shot in Charleston will never get my vote when I ask him a question about that, it's a smart answer. Just talk to you, I'm not voting for that. Because all they have to do is look it up, and they won't.
We don't want to take away from your meeting right now. Fortunately, apparently, records from that trip are hard copy.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to require somebody like an intern vote on time searching.
Yeah, I know, it's gonna take a lot of looking into. Okay, thank you, Rick. There's notice of class 1 permit for North of Grumman. Hospitality.
Not in great detail, it's out there in social media as well, and I do that because last issue was whole. Truth be told, what he wants, that's an official letterhead and all, you can FOIA that. It's trying to hide it. This is probably most community knows, NextEra and other companies, but NextEra primarily in this area is working on what's called the Mid-Atlantic Resiliency Link Project, which proposes to put transmission line across parts of West Virginia on its way to transmit electricity starting in Pennsylvania. Admittedly, some of that power is coming from West Virginia power plants, but ultimately to Virginia. In my research and talking all the rest of the options, et cetera, I have a couple issues there, and I think there are better approaches. It would certainly cost them more, but it'd be less of an impact to us if they were to do something like bury it. I know it would cost a lot of money compared to just putting up towers. But talking with First Year as an example, First Year has exclusive rights for putting power substations in our state in this area. So if next year wants to put a substation, say in Black Oak, it's going to be on the Maryland side. It's not going to be on the West Virginia side. That's not to say in the future somebody couldn't change circumstances, but I also see it as we got two companies that are private entities trying to maximize their profits, maximize their piece of the pie. Understandably, business decisions, this is how they're proceeding, and I don't think it's in our best interest. And that's the public stance I'm taking.
They can't bury them.
Oh, yeah,
They can bury them to a certain point, but you can't put the power through them
No.
because they require the air to cool, correct?
Read my letter. No,
Well, that's what the one guy told me.
that's inaccurate.
Okay, well,
Actually, next
I
year,
took his word for it.
next year operates a buried line in California, the Trans San Francisco Bay line. There is a line being built right now from Canadian New York border to New York City. That's entirely buried. There's a buried line and there's a buried line in going from Spain to France through the Pyrenees, because they didn't want to, put, I guess, towers across Mount Blanc and all. It's been operational for 10 years. In Germany, and this is a significant one, the building was called the Südling, and the primary reasons why that's being buried is political and social reasons. It's not.
I think it puts the same amount of voltage through the buried line.
Yep.
I wonder why they told me. I wonder why.
I mean, it's more costly. There's no doubt about it. But as I wrote in the letter, when we first buried trains in cities, it cost more money, but they didn't want to put trains, running around town to, deliver people in outgoing subways. You get drivers.
To expand on Rick's letter, been a lot of conversation. I've had a lot of conversations with different entities and people, and I'd like to put on our next agenda and to put out a proclamation or letter in opposition of this transmission line. Hampshire County has done one, Princeton County has done one, Jefferson County has done one. There is, I have not found one citizen in this county who has come forward and said that they're in favor of this transmission line. I believe it's been sent to people in the county. Right now, NextEra is estimating $50 to $75 million in revenue to us over the next 40 years. That's roughly $1.8 million. However, the school board has to get their take out of it. They're 78%. So that leaves us with approximately $400,000 a year that we would get in General County. But that's at the maximum estimated of $75 million. And it doesn't account for the loss in property taxes because of land evaluation. It doesn't account for the amount that citizens will pay extra in their electric bill, because a lot of this initial cost of putting this line through is going to be an upcharge in everybody in this, every citizen in West Virginia's electric bill. That's my understanding.
Is it ringing through First Energy?
Yeah, that is my understanding. So, to the best of my knowledge. So I'm asked to be on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll make either a letter or proclamation to put out that we are in opposition to this, and probably get something to the Public Service Commission to show that we're in opposition to this whenever they do apply to the Public Service Commission for the transmission. Thanks, Judge. What? Still alive. You guys think of, we have a draft, I have a draft proclamation kind of used what Hampshire County did or Preston County did. Yeah, I have a draft. Probably that would be the better way to go.
can send that to me. And I can-
Sure, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I'll introduce myself as appropriate. But I'm working with the citizens group on that issue that you're talking about. And if it'd help out, I've got a letter, I've got a proclamation drafted, I've got a resolution drafted, I could help send, so you could use it as a base. So it's probably the same proclamation. Okay. So we'll go down to, you don't have nothing else on that letter of bricks? You're good? Okay. Go down-
I just wanted to be full disclosure so you guys had awareness.
Yeah. All right, we'll go down to old business. There's no board appointments. Linda?
Some of them are-
Positions that don't currently have people in them, or just positions that are going.
Both.
Shape. They haven't left the board yet, but they're one stroke. See, if she's supposed to be checking it. See what. Yeah. Right. Update on minutes, improvement progress.
Yes, so Tom is here today. This will be our final change order in theory. So just to finish out the project now, almost everything 1 year we've talked about. I'm gonna let Tom go over it with you. But everything 1 year we've talked about, it's just, we need to do the official approval. I did not make copies of this, but let me do that. So, Tom, do you want me to go over the specific items or?
You can.
Okay, and then you guys can ask how many questions you have. So there's, like I said, most of the things we've talked about. Should we talk about that prior? Sheriff gas meters that like that Tom talked about. Roof beam repair, I'll have Tom talk about. The additional judges area HVAC mini splits, that was for the second circuit judge suite because we tore out that furnace. And we put mini splits in. So that is that cost for that. You all did approve that in the meeting, but this is just the official change order. The countertop for the tax office, that was Joel, that was that countertop extension that is complete. The circuit clerk revisions, so changing those rooms around, wall furring, the family court, acoustical barrier. I'm gonna let Tom talk about the and the existing sanitary relocation, that was the D&D plumbing for the third floor, come out into the new main. But Tom, if you want to talk about the 41,000 sheriff gas and the annex SK3 roof beam repair.
Sure, so almost half of that cost, maybe more than that cost, is in the stormwater system. That's to tie in to EOH, two new manholes and the time. Street. So it's that stormwater work to the house itself. The time it's storm drain, right now it's on to the sidewalk. So my big piece of that is that courthouse where reroom where this furniture was removed. We had corners and stuff that wasn't, we couldn't see earlier on in bad shape, so that's why we've got a new layer drywall across them. Circuit clerk revisions are actually pretty minor. I believe it was mostly not cutting the open water from the wall, Lawrence wall, in the office area, so the cost there. That's two doors that were ordered had a schedule of provisions that we made. So we'll end up with 2 extra doors at the end of the project and size. So. It really varies the discussion ever. Adding extra layer for all. Flips.
That's that cost.
No, anything can happen. Yeah.
I would hope at this point they've exposed every problem they could possibly come up with, because they're supposed to be done at the end of this month. So,
The inside Roland's office, I figured there was some changes. It was a mess when you couldn't see. It was bad. All right,
so this is, all of this funding has to come out of general county. The loan contingency is gone. But I mean, this should take care of everything, and a lot of these things get stuff done right. I mean, the family court, they weren't even supposed to be in there initially. That was something no one could have predicted. That was going to be our meeting room. It's not like the same as with them. The judge's area HVAC mini splits, I know that's a high cost, but the number of times that room is flooded, we've had to have people in to repair and replace because of the old units. We spent, I think, $7,000 or $8,000 for 2 years ago recovering that rent because that furnace leaked, and it's done it 2 or 3 more times since then.
what's the gas meter? What is yours?
So in the sheriff's building, our plans called for the gas company to provide a meter set. In this case, they wanted the contractor to provide a meter set, so that was possibly to do that. Discrepancy in how the gas company wanted things done. Different. We understood. So,
Gas company did not provide meters. They do everywhere.
I don't know. That's the size of it, the distribution of it, renovation. I'm not 100% sure. But when the gas started up. And this is my memory from a year ago. It's changed. What's the guy kind of slipped?
This is,
Other things in there that. Yeah. So that's the one piece that.
this is not here, right? They.
Yeah. And then the other was related to.
How much do you think it is? Hard to guess.
I hate to say it because people already know that it's there. I think it'll be harder for people to not hear it, if that makes sense. But I do think it's great. I think with my microphone and everything, I'll show a great reduction in decibel level. It's a question of people are all going to train to hear it, so it's still.
We've really already approved all these, right?
Most of them, like the stormwater system, we've talked about, but we've not officially approved it. We all knew that was coming.
I don't think we ever really got a different place on stormwater. How much is the stormwater in itself included in the 41?
I want to say it was like 21 or 23 on it.
About half.
Which that really does need to be done. The pits would have been okay, but then after they dug, they said it wasn't even draining across the pits.
Much rather put it into the home. Right.
And the reason that wasn't done initially is we thought there was going to be a lot of issues getting permission from DOH issues. The city would not let us into their system because they said it's already taxed. So we're able to get into the DOH stormwater system, which if you when it rains hard, the beaten, the Hotchkiss's cruiser takes it out front. We have this in yet. There is a ton of water to handle that comes off that big flat roof. that big roof.
We need to approve it.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
Your motion to approve it. So moved. I second. I approve that also. Move, anything?
Oh, payout 27, I gave that to Lauren. We're coming to the, yeah, we're, it's like 130-ish thousand. It is from the loan. It's just a standard drawdown out of the percentage. The front of it's an email. I can pull that. It's right there. That might be Tom's actually. It'll look like this, front of it. I can just pull it in.
It's here somewhere.
These are all purchase orders from.
I don't.
They're called P card.
Yeah. It's not 43.
No, it'll be my email. It's just a question. Ones.
I've seen it, so I initialed it. Paul. Well, problem. Jason might have it too.
Get it.
Jason might have it.
I'm almost there.
That's purchase order right there.
Yes, it is, but it's only $300.
No, that's not
That's
it.
the one we want to approve.
No, no.
Yeah. We will approve.
Payout 27 was for $138,054.87.
Repeat that, please.
$138,054.87.
What was the payout number?
27. And we are very, very close to the end of the applications. Actually, with that change order, we need to, the easiest thing would probably be to just go ahead and transfer that money to the project.
Approve this one. We have.
Oh, yeah, the payout.
Payout.
You got anything to add to it?
No, not to that. And then Tom had an invoice for $3,000. That's just the standard.
That's further. That's in that sheet there too.
Yeah, that one's in there. We found it.
That would just be the accounts payable motion. We do all the accounts payable.
Yeah. I already
But
did.
we have a separate
Or do you want a
motion
second one for
on
payout?
on payout, because Lauren.
All right, so I'll make a motion, we approve the payout number 27 for $138,054.87. I second and approve that.
Then
You don't see
you
that.
need to use that money to not just pay it out of general account.
Well, it'll make it really complicated to pay it out of general county because it's going to be part of just a regular pay. Like it might be.
That's, yeah, I got.
So is that in the 46?
Wherever we pay the invoices from.
Oh, 038. Building commission.
Yeah, because they'll be the one to sign the check. I mean, we can do it out of general county, but it makes it complicated because the pay applications look the same no matter what. Because like this change order will pay 10% of it one time and 50% another time, and it's kind of complex. Oh, there it is. Are you guys good with just transferring that money over?
Well, that is the motion.
I'll make a motion to transfer.
Yeah, so, yeah, approve that also. And also I got. I got Tom. Invoice here for $3,069.08. I'm sure they'll pay me soon.
Actually, he's not charged us any extra for the construction administration extension.
Hold on.
I don't think so. Honestly, they're trucking right along over there. Jeremy Voinovich is supposed to give me a quote to tear down the Blue House, because that's the next thing I want to get approved. That will be a general county expense. The other day, he mentioned probably around 12,000. So, and then, next time, listen, actually, I talked to Charles from the gas company, and they have torn down that green building that was gonna be in the middle of the parking lot.
Sweet.
It's fenced now, they are gonna put some additional ballards in, so that's gonna look way better, once the blue house is done, yeah.
It didn't take very long.
I didn't know they was gonna do that. That's
He
good.
said it was really hard to find someone because the gas company requires a $5 million liability policy.
Oh,
I
man.
can't imagine that there are many local fencing guys that have $5 million liability policies, so.
Oh,
Well, you can do a lot of damage, I guess, working around that. I guess that's the thought. I don't know, but yeah, it does look way better. So look, once that new house is now, that whole area.
can I imagine what I'm sure you do for that?
Yeah,
You got anything else in the project?
I think that's all I've got because we just been moving along. If you guys haven't been down there, you should go take a walk and see.
I'm
It's,
sitting there the other day. Yeah.
Good question. This is all done, we're looking to do blacktop and concrete around the entire point.
Depends on how much it costs, doesn't it?
um, all of the places that
Yeah.
all of the places that have been dug up will get like cold patch. That's city streets though.
But down the road, we're gonna have.
Even the parking lots on the other side of the courthouse is an issue.
And we can definitely, I don't know. If it's in the facilities, I think it actually.
If it's a safety issue, then yes.
Well, there is a safety issue.
It is. Properly Shelley.
Shelley.
You get the right person. What's the name? I guess.
Well, I try not to stretch justification on that too much because they've only got what they got, and there's tons of good projects because everyone's got facilities that are as old as ours. So we'll see. We'll do about it. We're gonna, well, and the plan is like he tears down the blue building. That's just gonna be a gravel lot. Certainly be nicer if it's paved because we don't plow this lot in the winter because it tears up the gravel and stuff. But over there, there's gonna be so many more people parking. Like we're gonna have to plow that. So we either just have to get it gravelled and rolled every spring or.
We're doing the road.
Yeah, we can
We
definitely,
need to.
once we get to that point.
All right, update on Parks and Rec, or park, not rec, park project around.
Yeah. We had a good turnout for rain softball now, so I don't have anything over that.
All right, CBDG grant, CDBG, yeah. They don't, they're running into some issues out there. But I think we met with, Bethesda, and I think things might go a little better. They're trying to help us save money. Right now, they're approximately 50% over cost on their foundation. Instead of being 800,000, or about $1 million and something. So it took a lot of the chunk of money that they wanted to redo the health department with, but it's gotta be done.
Hopefully some changes will be made Monday.
Well, hopefully the footer, that ground is hard. It all comes inside. The floor drilling, instead of being 2 inches of topsoil, they was a lot more than 2 foot. Yeah, and it cost us a lot of money. We're about $400,000 over. So, but what are you gonna do?
Project just gonna start.
The project hadn't done nothing to build yet, hadn't been.
And it's a
Haven't put a
rectangle.
piece of the building up there.
But we did question about is the building, are we gonna run into anything in the building that we're gonna do with the property? And they said, no, things looks pretty good there. So, and we do need to assign, I know Potasta, I asked Damon about that, and he said we don't need to, but I think we should at this time, since you have it here.
Yeah, I have that letter.
Make, AJ, officially the project leader manager of the health department. We told the one guy this, but wasn't in writing. He kind of used it against us.
If you guys wanna officially do that, Roger can just sign it. Send it over. That's,
I think we should.
that she loves sleep water.
We'll read it there, Jason.
Monroe County Commission is ready to formally identify Mr. Andrew J. Root as the project manager for the Health Department Annex project. Mr. Root has served in this capacity since the beginning of the project, and his role has been evident through all correspondence and coordination efforts conducted on behalf of the commission from the onset. We will continue to act as the primary point of contact. His If you have any requests for doing this notification or additional information, please contact Commission Office at 304-788-5921. Sincerely, Roger Leatherman, President of Monroe County.
We need to get a copy of this to AJ. He's not gonna worry about sending it to Bethesda, but he needs to have a record.
Yeah.
You need to have a record too. Okay. I hear a motion to approve this.
Make a motion to approve that letter. Authorize president to sign.
I'll second that.
And I agree with that also.
It was a little snarky by saying he's been doing it from the beginning, but that was.
No, yeah.
He was kind of nice.
Should've been on the call.
Technically under new
There's a lot of snarkiness on the phone.
Yeah, he's,
I'll get that to AJ and put it on here.
that is what it is. Okay, update on opioid.
Got information from 3D Recovery about we had approved them $20,000 to get a van. We bought the van for $10,000 some odd dollars, and part of it was to pay their insurance and expenses for the vehicle up to $20,000. He sent me a couple months ago, actually, he sent me information where he got an insurance policy, and it's $1,452.95. And all he sent me was the invoice for the insurance. And I made him send me a declaration page to show that that vehicle was on that insurance policy, and that's what he was waiting for. He finally did send that information, so I make a motion, we approve $1,452.95 to Church of God, or Piedmont Church of God, for this insurance on this van.
Is that for the year, Dutch?
Yes, that's for a year.
I make a motion, we approve that.
He did.
I mean,
I'll second. We'll second it.
Sure, I'll second.
Approve that.
And then also just an update, we got 6 applicants that we reviewed the other night, and we'll be meeting with some of them next week. But we're still trying to work out some times, so.
And then the ambulance authority check.
Oh. Oh. I didn't have any.
I don't remember the amount, but we had talked about,
I never got that information on the bottom.
okay, on the amount of it.
Yes.
80 or 90,000.
However you all wanted, I think we had talked, you said you were going to go and do half.
Yeah, I think we need to, that's right, yeah. You can break it down. But yeah, I never did get the invoice for how much that buy down was to start with.
And we've not
They're
been
just-
invoiced yet.
They have.
But I'd have to.
Do you need an invoice from the ambulance authority for somebody for paper? Like, we need, once you pay, we need report of once you pay, like copies of invoices and stuff.
Okay, well, yeah, so we haven't received an invoice from, WG, so.
Okay.
I mean, I can,
So, hey, Colby, do you want, I guess the real question is, do you want money fronted up to you? Or,
I was thinking like quarterly, break it in quarters, if I can submit a request for the first quarter's worth of, buy down payment, and then as they pay, we pay out of that. That just make it easier than, from me and mine to stay ahead of it.
so it'd be 30,000 every quarter.
I can write, does the ambulance authority need to write it in? I don't know how this works. Do we need to write an invoice to the county to get the, so there's a paper trail
Just-
for it?
Just a copy of the invoices that you pay,
Okay,
all right? All right,
yeah, that's,
total buy down is $96,225.
She's less than 20.
Yeah, we approved 120,000. 120.
However y'all want to do it, that's what the bottom is.
I'm flexible, whatever you go. Doesn't really matter. I would rather have a little bit of that time, so when the invoice comes, we just kind of check that. And then I can back to you, just pay a copy of the ours.
Make a motion to approve a quarter of us $30,000 to the ambulance authority.
Second, and approve that.
And just anytime you pay an invoice, get it sent.
Absolutely,
Either me or Lauren or whoever.
yeah, we'll send.
Actually, if you actually send it to me, because I need to put it in the reporting, so.
Okay.
And I'll forward it to Lauren, or you can send it to both of us, however you want.
We'll do.
Have you got anything else? Okay, I do. Okay. I'm working on all two for showers. Worked on budget. All right, county vehicles.
Cassandra went and got pictures with Lieutenant Reno last week, and then a lot of the batteries were dead, so they had to go back this week and get mileages, but she is in the process of listing all 10 of those vehicles. The auction goes live June 25th at 8 a.m. So
And that's Gov Deals.
it's on Gov Deals. I submitted the class 2 legal whips. Initially going to go live the 23rd, but the paper deadline is really early now for classifieds. So it can't start till next week. So the 25th at 8 a.m. is when those will go live, and they close like the week after July 4th. We always do those close at 8 p.m. so people are home. There's 10 of them, and she's in process of listing.
Okay. Rundown property.
So only update I have is I was able to get a budgetary estimate from RK&K. And our hourly rate would be $165. And his estimate is, and this again is a ballpark, and it would truly depend on a lot of factors. But he said it would probably take approximately 8 hours per
How much an
$165. So an 8 hours building, because with the site visit, the reporting work, all of those things.
Looking at
1320 per day. Now, do I think we could go back and negotiate that number a little bit? Yes, but I don't think we're going to get tons off.
And this is for their.
So do reports for some of these things. And the 8 hours might be a high estimate. Like some things are probably going to be simpler than that. Other things might be more complex. And he said it would just be like, it would include the visit to perform the assessment, collecting sufficient photos for documentation, preparation of a memo style report summarizing the recommendation.
That's something you're almost gonna do, Tom? Term and safety ability? I don't know.
I did talk about that.
Oh, okay, never mind. Scratch that.
He was my first question to ask. So that's up to you all. I mean, I did tell RK Kiddo, I'm letting them know.
let's think about that for a little bit.
Okay.
The decision would be to vote to have these guys be a part of the board.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure I understood.
And and you could probably save some money by if you hold everything up and have them go do site visits all at once and some things like that, but.
But most of these buildings, when it's torn down, I don't see what would take 8 hours to walk through and look at it. Look at it from the outside.
Well, you can't even go inside.
Yeah,
We're not
you
allowed
can't go.
inside.
That's what I say, you look at it from the outside.
Oh, there goes that newspaper order.
And I'm sure they're charging us time to the office, to the building.
Time you leave the office.
There's more to it than just actually going out looking.
Oh, they got paperwork, don't know that. Okay. Dog wars.
Yeah, do we need to have that final?
I mean, I think that's just up to you. I'll just let them know that you guys are considering it. I do think though, if we truly want to get to a point where we're doing stuff with buildings, at some point we are just gonna have to allocate money. Because we're not gonna be able to do it pretty much this. And I don't know if in these municipalities, but like the ones who need the help, like Elk Garden and that they don't have the funding to even.
Can you come back on the land?
So you can, we absolutely can charge all of these back to the landowner. But a lot of these properties are tax sale properties that they're just gonna let go back for sale anyways. Like when we looked at I never say it right, but the Feldstein, that building in Piedmont, people buy it at tax sale and then they just let it go back to the tax sale. Because they buy it, they see what it is, they realize it's too expensive to fix, and it just goes back to tax sale again, and it transfers owners constantly. So you can put a lien on the property, but it doesn't do anything because a lot of people who buy them are from out of state too, and there's no way to, other than putting a lien on the property itself, we don't have a way to force collection. Because you could even charge the property owner for tear down. But what's the saying, can't get blood out of a rock or whatever. In these cases, it's not that there's no blood, it's just you're not getting from it.
Yeah, what? So. You got anything?
Oh, yeah, I talked to the board of pharmacy and they said that I could sign it, so it's already signed and given to her. It's just a form she has.
So we don't. Okay, update on financial assistance, their part. And anything I have is I talked to the contractor. And told him that we had agreed to pay up to 18,000 to help pave those streets. And for him to bill us directly, the county directly, and that he would need to give a W-9 to the clerk as well when he sends his bill in. So whenever he gets to that point that he does that, he'll be doing that. That's the thing I have. Does it still, you haven't contacted the other two, John?
Oh,
General public, that's with regards to local economic development.
Okay,
I hope it's not hung up in the post office. Apparently, they don't know how to do anything else.
all right. Travel policy.
Okay, you have a copy of the draft policy. Couple changes, obviously, it's about 7 times bigger than the previous policy. Using Marshall County as a sample, and a lot of it can be spelled out. You'll see a lot of duplication, but it's spelled out whether it's a non-overnight travel or whether it's overnight travel, whether it's in-state or out-of-state, in-county or out-of-county. Just so there was no question for clarification. So it does look like some of it you're like, I just read that. Well, it depends on whether it's in-county, out-of-county, overnight or not overnight. Couple of things that making sure that it is the department's head responsibility to approve such travel. Simple things as much as the invoice needs to be in the name of the employee. I know it's a simple thing, but so on non-overnight travel would be reimbursed with proof of receipts, and a lot of this is state requirements as well. So when it's overnight travel, that's when a per diem would be applied. The one thing we took out was elected officials having to wait until they get back. We took that sentence out. So elected officials would not have to wait until they get back. But then with the per diem, as it currently is, whether meals are provided or not would determine the amount. We also took that portion out. So whether meals are provided or not, the employee would get the per diem rate based on the General Services Administration current rates. based on their location. So the issue was, it says meals provided, but they might get a muffin and a bologna sandwich. Yeah, so whereas, it's hard to compare when it says there's a meal provided, or the hotel provides a breakfast, or, they say a breakfast is provided and you get a muffin that you don't eat. So we, as the Wade Review Board recommended, that we just go ahead and just do an upfront amount, for the overnight travel. Again, for, day travel, that would be reimbursed upon receipts, and receipts, if they are away 6 to 8 hours, they would be provided one meal at the dinner rate. If they are away for more than 8 hours, they may submit for 2 meals. And of course, when it is overnight and they're there for a full day, that's when they qualify for the 3 meals. One thing on there on the mileage rate, did list a separate in-county, as we approve the rates usually at the beginning of the year when the state sets the mileage rate, and then the out-of-county would actually follow the IRS rate. And the reason to separate that is, we do almost every pay cycle, we're doing mileage in county, whether it's extension office, poll workers. So we left that, the in-county rate would be the rate that you all approved, but then anything outside of the county would be the IRS rate at that time. It'll be the employee or the elected official traveling. It'll be their responsibility to print out the documentation, the registration, the mileage rate, the rooms rate, all that. That's on their responsibility to submit in a timely manner for my office to cut the check before they go.
So if we go by the federal government record rate, so you just want to cut them that, but you can't cut them their meal because you don't know what they eat, do you?
Well, depends on how long they're going to be gone. So if it's just one night travel, there is also travel day on the GSA site. There's travel for them as well. That's right.
Now, do you take in considerations, and I've thought about this, do you take in consideration if somebody leaves at 1 o'clock in the evening, got to go for 5 hours, we want to be there for 3 days, how many, and getting home by a little early the last day, how many meals do you give them?
Okay, if they are traveling to, let's say they're traveling to Martinsburg.
Yeah.
You only have to leave, 2 hours,
Yeah,
3
but
hours.
say they spend the night there.
That would be, well, that when it goes overnight, that's a different qualification,
Yes.
okay?
I got
So
that.
depending on if it's going to take them a couple hours to get there, then that would be one meal.
One meal a day.
But if it goes over the 8 hours, wait a minute,
GSA
GSA
has travel day.
travel
it
day,
has the travel day rate, it's $51 per to and from.
It depends on where you go.
Yeah, and then $68 a day for the 3 meals.
based on where you're
Based
going.
on where you're going.
Because you put in the
So that's the
location.
answer.
So you would, okay, you got that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. We need to
This
do something.
this is the federal website, right?
Yeah.
It's very user friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, you just go on, you click the location.
So a couple of questions. You have to bring receipts back for the prepayment.
No,
Okay.
that's what we're proposing is
Okay.
overnight travel, they'll just get a flat per diem, whether meals are provided, no receipts required.
Okay. Are we still able to use those? Because I see that it says.
Well, that's for day trip, so we're not gonna pay for them and pay your.
Right,
credit
right,
card.
but no, obviously. But if you don't take the you just use your P card.
Yes,
Okay. And
but we're
then,
not gonna pay like the difference,
no, I get that, but I'm
Okay.
saying like, for. if you
this
just-
is also gonna simplify it on my office, because we have, every time we travel, we have to go through this whole meal provided thing.
Third thing, paying the elected officials out ahead of time, they do have to submit receipts then, correct?
For day trip.
For day trip.
Okay, but for overnight trips, because technically that would be considered additional compensation, I just don't want to see if I get it.
Or fringe benefits. They don't exceed.
If you don't.
As long as you guys are good with it, but I didn't know if that would be
It's not
considered
gonna be
additional
any different than
compensation.
what they submitted when they came back, though. I mean.
Right, but if it was more than what they spend, I don't know. I just
A
don't,
lot of us, like, I don't even charge per day.
right.
I don't,
Because I know the state's as picky as like an assessor can't have a take-home vehicle. Like, 'cause it's considered to be additional
It's, yeah,
compensation.
fringe benefits, and we cannot do anything that would
Right.
increase the salary that we're.
Right, so that's what, just as long as you guys thought about that. everything's good.
you do not have to take that for them. You don't.
And it also needs to be approved by the elected official before that person.
Yes,
moves on.
your elected official or department head has to sign off on any charge against their budget. One other thing that I wanna mention on here is if you see the top, the effective date. So if you so approve this travel policy, whether you wanna consider doing it July 1, June 1, or put it back to January 1. If you wanna do it back to January 1, we can go review all the travel that's taken place since then. For the most part, the departments will only be a difference of a couple $100, except for obviously the sheriff might have a little bit bigger chunk of this.
Sure.
That's why you don't get your shower.
He's aware of this.
Sure, I always do.
We wouldn't have that much anyway. There's, you know, been the
So what we would just, we would look at it and how long and pay them the difference.
You know, I am gonna hear this. If you go back to January 1, I'm gonna hear about it.
if you do or you don't.
If we do. If we, I know, but if we do, I'm gonna hear about it. Cause when Chris and JJ went to Gatlinburg, they didn't eat very good.
Oh. Just
I know.
I guess.
I'm gonna hear about that. Right. I think we,
And we started talking about it in February. In February, we were gonna do it back to
Oh,
January.
it's been, yeah, it was.
I think we should go back to January. It's fair.
I look over, my only concern is with per diem, if somebody goes to a conference, and they're not all the same, just like the one me and Jason just went to, we got fed really well. So there's a cost of the conference, and then if employees get a per diem too, and they're not even having to buy food because the food's provided at the conference. I know what they're saying, some of them give a bologna sandwich or whatever, and sometimes a hotel breakfast, but it falls to the elected official to make that determination, and that's just one word. Push that elected official to determine what they're gonna do there.
Well, and something else too is, the elected official has the option to take, with the per diem and stuff. But we're also compensating the employee is actually getting paid for 8 hours, but they're gone for 24. So they're away from home. So it's a little give and take. And if they so choose to eat small, just so they can bring something.
Usually with the commissioner, whenever they have training and stuff, you don't have to worry about food.
I mean,
That just is like, the commission registration is like $400 for the annual conference, and that's because it's 3 good meals a day. But what he said is.
but then an example, the assessor's office went 2 weeks ago, no meals were provided.
Yeah.
Absolutely no meals were provided.
I'm in favor.
I am.
There's no way to make them.
Very good.
No way to make it.
We accept the pay wage reviews.
Except the Mineral County Travis policy and the effective date.
Effective date January 1st.
I'll second that motion.
And I approve that also.
And then we're not gonna make everybody happy, but I think this will cover the majority. Like I said, a lot of it was repetitive, just so it was spelled out.
You're not gonna make everybody happy. You got an official copy already. Update on insurance.
The chase car I gave you all, the committee met, Dr. Herbers, or Colby doesn't know, but Dr. Herbers can say anything, certainly welcome to, but the committee did meet. We did a draft budget, ignore the line items in there, that's my 911 budget input I just used for this. That budget does not include things like fuel or insurance, but that's because the authority's already paying those. These are what new expenses would be that are currently just part of the contract. Certainly expenses are very close to what our contract cost is, but they do still come in less. We talked in depth about every line item. Overtime, we had a ton of discussion about because, you know, they're all healthcare workers. They get like 3 holidays a year and we get 12. So holidays were a big expense in that budget. It was one of the kind of unexpected things, but it's all of that is included. We talked about every holiday, all the wages. The per diem coverage is up to like 120 hours so that when the full-time or part-timer will take off. So in theory, that is a very solid budget of what the expenses for this vehicle would be. The capital expenses, the one-time purchases are a little greater. Dr. Curvos can talk about those needs, but it's much closer to like between 50 and 70,000 for the things you need to really get started. I know they've submitted an application to the opioid committee in hopes to get those funded, but Dr. Curvos can certainly talk about those things. But after those one-time expenses are funded, the car coming to the county is very much a feasible option, and we will have the ability to control costs rather than contract increases. But Dr. Curvos, give me a second.
As of right now, we're paying Valley approximately $138,000 plus or minus some, correct? Valley Health, as a full institution, just announced they're giving 16 to 20% pay increases for all employees. Therefore, Chase Car will go up 20% per ALS provider. That drives it because ALS providers are getting a 20% pay increase. So their costs will actually be probably more upwards of $168,000 a year for our county as well. So just to add that, that was announced yesterday, Valley Health wide, all employees. So as a county, we'd be paying Valley way more in that. At the last meeting, there was some concerns regarding the possibility that maybe not all agencies wanted to do this. So I took it for myself, and we went around to every single agency and we touched base with every single leader of the agencies, not just members, leaders. And we do have a signed letter here by every single person, 9 agencies, chiefs, presidents, EMS and fire, all in favor of performing this, with myself as the medical director. If you'd like, copies you can hand it out. But these are wet signatures from all 9 agencies in support of this as well. So there was no opposition. People did have a lot of questions. There are 1,000 rumors going around the county about what this may or may not be. And anyone who's asked me, I've said I would happily answer anything I know. Of course, I'm not a commissioner, and therefore some questions I cannot answer. With that said, I will tell you that 95% of the questions asked of me were by people who did not watch or attend the meeting, which I highly encourage them to do so because the vast majority of those questions would have been answered. I mean, upwards of things like whoever's hired as a full-time paramedic will have the car stationed at their agency. We'll have 3 full-time paramedics and we'll pay them $60 an hour. We'll have, I mean, some of the rumors are absolutely absurd, right? And that's just silly, but that's how the world works, right? And telephone is a game. So you call one person and the 20th person down the line has the story that we're having a pink elephant in front of the car. Like, you know what I mean? So I encourage everybody to please, watch the last meeting, to attend this meeting. If they have any questions, to keep asking them. I think it's important for people to ask questions and understand exactly what we are hoping to do here. But I do think it'll be a good thing. I think it'll ultimately save the county money. There are the upfront expenses of the cardiac monitor. Really is the most expensive upfront cost. It would be a one-time purchase. We talked last meeting about the possibility of a refurbished model. Actually had P.S. Martin, Dr. P.S. Martin was in the county doing calls with us last week, and I spoke with him about it and his thoughts on it. And he recommended that if we are able to get the newest monitor, because the older LifePak 15s are already going out of service. And he said that probably in 5 years, if we get a 15 and not 35, we'll end up buying a new one anyway, which will just be another $20-something thousand purchase. So if we were able to do it up front, then that would be ideal. Of course, if that's feasible, it is. If not, it's not. We did submit a first application to the opioid committee discussing some of these expenses, cardiac monitor and a ventilator, both of which are highly utilized in, all medical emergencies, but very much so in overdose patients, and or people with substance use disorder, because you have to monitor a lot of their heart rhythms, you have to monitor their breathing patterns, etc. We have a meeting next week to further discuss that. So I don't have the information on that just yet, but we're going to be meeting to discuss that further. And I mean, I'd happily answer any questions.
That's just a point here.
So depending on which one we get, a LifePak 15, the older one refurbished, you can probably get for 20,000, new for 32 to 35,000, but the newest model is somewhere between 48 and $50,000. You can finance them. You can finance them over a period of 1, 3, or 5 years if you so choose, or you can pay upfront for it. But that would be, once you have it, right? And that monitor will last at least 12 to 15 years.
We did discuss, and you should come apply for a grant, but that grant is not just nationwide, it is worldwide. So the odds of us getting it not that great.
And then some of the other devices or equipment, I was thinking that utilizing the remainder of the buy down money, because those also would function in the same role and capacity for treatment of people with substance use disorder as well. So we do have some of that. I think there's about $23,000 after buy down that could be utilized for other equipment as well that we would need. So we can also use that. And then we put out, we created job descriptions. If this were to be passed, we did tentative job descriptions of a full-time medic, part-time medic, and per diem medics, which are listed within that document that we gave to you guys. So those are in there as well. We did put some requirements on there that we all kind of agreed upon. You can't just be a brand new paramedic and just get your card and ride the chase car. It's way more in depth than that. So we put, like things like you have to be a paramedic for 2+ years. You have to have certain qualifications and training. You will need to be trained on the car itself. How do you respond to scenes? How do you work with the volunteer crews? You have to have access to different medical records for each agency, things like that. So all of that needs training and teaching, where the medications are, how you refill them, how you take care of them, etc. What else? We also talked about you have to be an active running member for one of our volunteer agencies because we want to support volunteerism. So we're not hiring from without the county, we're hiring people within the county who run already for volunteer agencies. And you have to, active member means you don't just run like one call and never show up. You're active in the community, you want to be a part of it. So things like that to apply. And then we talked about having the committee be an interview style committee. So not one person would be selecting any of the employees. It would be an interview-based process with the recommendation given at the end.
And that staffing is 36 hours a week for the full-time paramedic, so 3 days, 24 hours a week, part-time paramedic, 2 days, and then the per diems would cover vacation, that kind of thing. And then there's money in the budget to cover the part-time or full-time. So, well, the part-time to cover the full-time when they're off, and vice versa, that kind of thing. And the per diem the per diems will hopefully mostly cover vacation, sick days, that kind of thing.
PTO days. Stuff
Yeah,
like that.
PTO. And the part-time medic will be entitled to EMSRS retirement if they work 24 hours a week. So we just went ahead and put that in the budget as well.
Okay.
And we did talk about the opportunity if we did not want 24 hours for a part-time medic to do 12 hours 1 day a week and then fill the other day with a per diem medic, but we kind of figured we could figure that out.
And we felt like for the part-time medic that, because initially, I think the retirement contribution from the county is like $4,000 a year is what it would cost us. But for that part-time person, being an EMSRS is a pretty substantial perk because that's an incredible retirement system. There's no private retirement system that can be EMSRS.
And then they could distribute the administrative duties so that the full-time medic would not be performing all of them. Plus, the state requires that you have an additional field training officer, and you need other people to be on, for instance, the board of pharmacy, the power of attorney forms, etc. So you need someone else as an administrative person, and we thought that the part-time medic would be nice to help distribute that. If the full-time medic would be on vacation and there was a scheduling issue, the part-time medic could help, etc. Things like that.
So full-time medic will do 3 days a week. Part-time medic will be on a regular rotation.
At least 1 day a week, if if
We had
not
to talk
two.
about them actually being
Yeah,
just 2 days.
2 days a week.
And we did, the salary is not based on 2,080 hours, it's based on 3,600 work weeks.
Yes.
What you're seeing in there is based on 3,600 work weeks, it's not based on.
Mhm.
We did talk
How
about,
much would that up?
No, that is it. We did it with that in there.
oh, if we did 40-hour weeks, it would up it, but we don't, there's no need to do.
Now, so this, what I'm gonna be asked, and I'm asking questions that have been asked and probably gonna be asked now. But this $91,200, is that the total salary?
No, that is the so the next page goes over, breaks that down. It shows
Yeah, I
each
see.
individual salary, so that's the salary of the full-time, the salary of the part-time, and the per diem coverage.
Okay, I
salary.
got you there.
And then there's the overtime line, which was more than we wanted it to be, but holidays in county government are expensive.
Yeah, I was kind of jealous of your holidays. I get no holidays. I get Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving.
We talked about Martin Luther King
And that's-
Day
yeah.
holidays. She's like, that can't be a holiday. I said, we're not changing, like, this person can't have different holidays than everybody else. That would
So that was very nice that you got. I wish I got those.
So what about the insurance? Does that include everything?
Yes,
We're already.
that's already there.
We're already paying. It's not in this budget, but the authority's already paying.
Okay.
Yeah, because they've already. been paying.
Now, this doesn't include the apartment.
Yeah.
I think the one-time fee, we're looking at maybe 55,
Yeah.
60,000. Just
So if you make payments on that, that's $12,000. You're basically what you're.
not part of the heart one, if we're talking about everything, one-time fee from the changing of the car name to all the different things. Uniform.
So what he's talking about is if they would finance, the apartment, that you would have an addition to.
Yeah.
Correct.
Monthly payment.
Yeah,
If it
$1,000.
was financed.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was fine.
Yes.
Yeah, so right now, the biggest issue looks like is, which we knew all along, or I had mentioned before, was the upfront cost to switch it, so.
Mhm.
An upfront cost. So you think, because I'm gonna be asked this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think people don't understand.
Sorry.
It's not true. Okay, we get that all the time. But now I've got a few people that's contacting me.
Mhm.
And I know, I seen on the back of the paper where all the squads are in favor. But I just want you to know that everybody in that squad is in favor. Now, the squads are, every individual in that is.
Well, right.
And
That's
that's
like
the
what we
people
said.
I'm
You can't
getting-
always speak
I know
everybody.
you can't make, I know that. And the question I'm asked is probably gonna come back to me. So right now, you think Valley Medical will raise their,
It's not a will. They announced it.
Oh,
They
they
announced
did?
it yesterday at their meeting. Not just Valley Medical Transport, Valley Health as an entire system
Yeah.
whole announced 10 to 20% increases. ALS providers receiving 20%. All of our Chase car medics are ALS providers.
so this
So they announced the median is 16% increase for all employees of Valley Health.
16%.
Correct. That was announced and it's effective starting Sunday.
Wow.
Yes.
And it could potentially take our contract up to 168,000.
Yeah.
If not more, depending on what they choose.
It
That's
depends.
just their salary rates, what they choose to increase our rate to percentage wise. Someone has to cover that cost and they still want to probably profit in some way.
The 16% wage increase is not just wages, that's also all of their overhead increases.
It's everything. And it's already it's effective Sunday, so it's not an if they did that, yes. As a whole system.
So, and the ambulance authority is gonna pick up all this?
Yes, the ambulance authority can pay, like we are now, we pay Valley somewhere between 11,500 and 12,000. We pay the fuel for the vehicle, we pay the insurances, we pay all the maintenance of the vehicle already. And there's no secret between us and anybody within this room. The ambulance authority spent a lot of money last year on fixing some ambulances and doing a lot of things. That was an out of the ordinary year as far as our expenses go, but in line with our normal budget, I have a budget to present tomorrow night that includes all of this and a healthy portion toward maintenance should we have some. We also changed our maintenance policy to only reimburse 50% on maintenance, which helps normal maintenance.
with paying for everything that we're doing right now, everything that this asks us to do, in the future, I wrote a proposed budget that shows a $13,000 surplus for this year. In July, which even includes a large sum of money paid toward, the, payment for Port Ashby's ambulance park portion that we have to, which is not here yet, but will eventually come 6 to 8 months down the road, but I've paid a full year in that budget just because I figured why not include the cost for a full year of payments in the budget if I can. If there's a surplus at the end, that's great, then we can use it for something that we have to cover on a basis.
And that's what I spoke to Colby last week and asked him, like, please make sure you put a budget together so we don't do this. End up having.
And I will, once we're gonna discuss it tomorrow night, and then, that budget is solid.
Okay, anybody got any questions, comments? Yes.
I'm sorry.
We'd move forward in removing the Chase car from Valley to Mineral County, whatever we call it. Chase car. Give them a notice. August 1st. Valley. Stay the same. Dr. Shukas. Dr. Kerbos, Roger Reels, Luke McKenzie, and myself on that committee, and that committee also would be the hiring committee for the new medic and things on it. Also, while we're in the process of ending our contract with Valley, that Dr. Kerbos would work on the licensures and all the things that would go from there.
Could we post a position and start that person in the middle of July or?
I think in terms of licensure, that may not be feasible, because we have to submit, get the person out here to review. That's fast.
They don't have to be licensed. They can do this,
Yeah.
they can work for us.
No, you need to create the medical agency licensure to run the vehicle under. It has to be.
No, I'm not saying start the vehicle. I'm saying the person can come on and be paid to get finished all
Oh.
of that.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying
I was
start
like,
the
oh my
vehicle
God, I
in
was like,
July
look, that's
15th.
so fast. I don't
No,
think I
I'm
can do
saying
that.
that person have an additional 2
I know, I was
weeks
like, I can't do that.
to make sure everything is ready and put together and ready to start on this first. I'd hate for the
For the
person's
paper,
first day
so
to be
you-
August
to
1st.
do all the paperwork and
Have that
get it
person
ready.
on board, help work.
Yeah, and just work out the logistics and set up the office, and I'd hate for their first day to be August 1st and the first day they're getting in a car that they've just been, because they'll have to be a volunteer for that first 2 weeks, and we don't do that. Because the car's gonna have to be equipped, and that's up to you all.
I feel like that would probably be fine.
So can we, is it feasible that we can have the job posted and have a full-time medic hired by July 15th?
So I could post a job today.
I'll figure it out. I'll adjust my schedule accordingly.
I was gonna say posting the job's not a big deal,
No, I think it's just, it'll be interviewing. That'll be the most difficult part.
but even then, that gives us till the end of June to schedule interviews, and that person can still give a 2-week notice, and
So you want to amend that, it adds the full-time will come on July 15th?
Yeah.
And I'll second that motion with the amendment.
And if everything's not fully up and running by August 5th, it's okay. Because we don't run on the weekends anyway, of the Chase car, right? So if we have a couple of days where we're not fully up and running, I think we would all be very relaxed about it, and I think you would too. You just want to make sure it's done right.
If for some reason licensure is not done or anything, New York Fire Department will put the Chase car under them until you do get licensed.
Thanks.
It's nothing, just paperwork to add to our licensure, won't file the same thing. Until the county can get theirs, but they run into that, they shouldn't, but if you do, we would be willing to put the car under our licensure temporary. Well, thank you all, thank you for your fire department.
That's great.
I could speak for myself and Short Gap, but probably between Short Gap and Port Ashby, we can guarantee some form of ALS coverage 5 days a week if something happens, that there is a lapse in coverage. So the north end of the county has paramedic coverage.
You go to Chase School, don't you? Basic.
Well, I mean,
You
the
got paid
response
employee.
is, we have a paid employee, EMT basic, yes.
Yeah.
He works, 40
I
hours a
agree.
week.
Yeah. I thought we meant the car licensure. I misunderstood.
So, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. They've already been working on stuff. I've already sent like all the letters that the commission sends for people's licensures. We've done all of that, just as a preemptive in case it did, so.
And all of the agencies just went through licensures, so a lot of those policies are pretty spread out. They're very similar, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You take and choose and adjust the names, and that's, most of the agencies have the same licensure policy.
As part of your motion, you want me to go ahead and send official notification to Valley, because we're, you guys are the signers, so I can
I
send
didn't know
official
that, that was
notification.
my next question, is the ambulance authority, since we have a contract?
You all are the signers.
County commissioners.
So I'll send that letter out this week, and that's more than 30-day notice, so that'll be.
Yeah, do we all three need to sign that?
I was just gonna sign it, because you guys passed it in a commission meeting, so if you guys wanna sign it, you can, but it's an official commission motion, it's just any.
So you made a motion.
Yeah.
You second this. Now, when's this gonna start? July 15th?
Well, the full-time medic will be hired, if we find a full-time medic, they'll be hired July 15th. But that 2 weeks will be just to handle paperwork, get the office set up, get everything set up, get it ready. And then August 1st, we would go live, the intent would be we would go live with the Chase Car, which I think August 1st is a Saturday, so it'd actually be August 3rd.
It's a Friday, I just looked.
Oh, okay.
So, Lauren, do we have to add another line item to the budget and do a revision to do all this?
No, it's next year's budget. Yeah, that'll be a budget revision for next.
I actually need to ask something. I don't know that I don't know where everyone takes it out of, because I don't see an EMS line specifically in the.
We'll set up a separate department within 911.
So you guys pay Valley Medical Directors, right?
Yes, so what I would like, so there's a clear delineation of how things work is the same way things are set up now. The county pays their employee, the funds come from the ambulance authority to the county to reimburse the cost. The county gives me either monthly or quarterly an invoice, and then the check's written. So it's the same situation now. The motion was made previously for the Chase Car that the county was going to do this and it was going to be done with ambulance authority funds. So my request in the future would be the same thing. The county is doing this, it's still going to be paid for with ambulance authority funds, but it's a county. So the ambulance authority changes rapidly sometimes with people and personnel, and the county commission is a very stable organization that runs kind of the same
And
direction.
just to be clear, right now, Valley Medical invoices.
Yes,
The ambulance
the
authority,
ambulance authority,
and you all pay the ambulance.
and we write
authority.
them a check. The bill comes, it comes to me, scanned into me, I approve payment, and the check is written and
When do they invoice you? Is it quarterly? or-
end of the month, every month.
Every month?
Yeah, every
I
month
couldn't
we get a check
remember which
or an invoice for around, for somewhere between 11, I would say somewhere between 11 and 12.
Around 11.5, I know that.
Yeah.
Around that.
Yeah.
Salaries.
This would be called a Mineral County and Mineral County Emergency. That's what we'd be calling this chicken.
So you're going to set up a new department totally, or you're just gonna put it under, okay.
I don't think.
I'll do the, I don't want to under 911. It's not 911, but I'll have to look at the chart of accounts. I don't see, there's gotta be.
But the last meeting, you said they were, yeah.
Is it okay in the, if I start working on the licensure, if I also start to reach out for other things that we need in terms of purchases and get quotes and stuff? Like for changing the lettering on the vehicle, for uniform, things like that?
I don't have a problem with that, the more we get done,
We did budget those things in this budget here.
the sooner we get some of that stuff done, then we're not ready for last minute trying to get something.
I just didn't want to overstep or do something that.
Well, and the authority will be paying those things directly.
Yeah.
The only thing we'll be paying is just the payroll, and they'll be reimbursing for that, so.
I just wanted to make sure that would be okay if I started to do those
And
things.
I would just emphasize too, that
the ambulance meeting authority tomorrow night. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. But I think all of this needs to be discussed and make sure that the ambulance authority meeting has something on record that their approval of everything and that kind of stuff, which I feel confident there is after everybody I've talked to. I don't see an issue, so.
I'll be at that meeting.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss it at length, and, even some of the, the immediate things that she's talking about, the relettering of the vehicle, things like that, the ambulance lady can take that. We already have a set up. I can get the pricing in. And that's a minor expense in the grand scheme.
And then next week, I'll meet with the opioid committee and see if possibly we could have funding towards that cardiac monitor, which would be, if that was approved, that would be fantastic. That would take away that upfront cost entirely.
Hopefully we decide that.
How, once you put in the order for that, how long does it take to get one of
The
those?
monitor,
Yeah.
week, 2 weeks.
You got anything else? Okay.
So that's
Thank
pretty.
Thanks for putting all this together. General county budget revision.
Okay, so, if you have, see the one, and we flip it over, yeah, the top one has some adjustments to it. But if you flip it over, you can see the one, and I'll go over that, and then we'll look at the final one. So at the top, just looking at our revenues, and I have to say, I don't know that in all the years that I've been here, that we've actually at this point collected over 100% of our estimated revenues. And I know we're being a little safe when we were doing that, but at this point, we have collected more than 100% of our revenues projected. But these are some that I've still increased. At the last budget revision, I did an increase in the property transfer tax, but doing another 73,000 to that. Hotel motel, with the hotel motel, what we collect in the hotel motel, we distribute half and half between parks and travel. So that'll be 40%, and down below you'll see the 40,000. In the bottom, you'll see 20,000 to parks and 20,000 to visitor. And the federal grants and state grants, just keeping those up. The auditor likes us to keep up on those. The miscellaneous revenues of 61,000, that was for the development authority checks. Next year they're going to be under 380, but this year they were put under miscellaneous because when we received them, we didn't know what they're for. And then the increase of 35,000, and that was 30 of that was for the Lipitor settlement check that we received. So adding another 250,000 to the projected revenues. And down below, under 401, added another 6,500. 2,000 of that was the contribution for Red Cross, which you've seen today. 4,000 was for the LEPC that you gave them, and then the 3,873 that you gave the Peach Festival for the electric. 408 was a state computer. They had been behind in their invoicing. They have currently they're current, and therefore we did not have enough funds in there, so we needed to add an extra 6,000, and that is a current invoice on that. Law enforcement. Now this law enforcement, 4,254 of that is higher reimbursement. 310 is a refund check from an AutoZone. And then moving 7,400, because the co-officers are now going to be paid out of law enforcement, because now they're law enforcement deputies. So moving 7,400 to cover their salary for the next pay, because that went in effect June 1st. Obviously, next year, the first budget revision we do, we remove all the salaries from Pro and put them all under law. Also, which Joel's going to discuss in a minute, another request that he has, we may have to adjust that. 710, civil defense, that was 10,000 that you already approved to cover the flooding and future expenses. 730. Now I had 6,900, which was the reimbursement check for the sale of the guns that Joel's going to use for the magistrate court security. I did the full check amount, which was 6,900. Misunderstood what he said. He was only going to use what the expenses he needed, which ended up being 690 some. So if I can change that 6,900 to $700 increase in court security and put the remaining balance of the $6,200 under law enforcement equipment, which was the sale of the guns. Then I mentioned parks was the 20,000 and visitors 20,000. The state grants, that was a balance to do with the court security. Other buildings, that's more or less where we put any excess that would have the balance. And then 998 was equipment for the defibrillators. And then if you flip it over on the previous one, I added 999, which is streets and highways, to add in the 18,000 for Elk Garden streets.
You mean, not Denver, you mean 988 or 999?
999.
Oh,
It's-
you don't
I
have.
had printed the one I wrote one, I already
Okay.
had in
Okay.
See the
the
one on
packet,
stage.
and then I realized I needed to
I,
add.
I see it now.
Yes, then I realized that we might have that invoice before June 30th for the streets, so I needed to add that 18,000 in, so that's why I did an amended one, but I didn't rewrite everything on there. But then also, oh, actually, no, Joel wanted that 6,200 from the sale of guns, wanted the 980, not 700. But that was actually changed, I mean, it's when it's not on there.
Okay.
Questions?
We have a
Clarification?
streets and highways expenditure on.
No, I had to set one up.
Oh, okay. No, it's still, even though you raised that $100, it's still, what, still gonna stay 252, or you wanna add the 100?
No, it's still gonna stay the 252.
Because you
The difference
changed it,
is
okay.
line 998, where we
Okay.
put the 143,
Mhm.
that will be adjusted.
Okay, that'll be done, that's all right. Okay, any questions, gentlemen?
And I hope that I don't know anything of any other expenses that we've talked about that's gonna take place before.
What about
June
travel?
30th.
Did you put any travel in here?
Now, we
for
were
this?
kind of hoping, looking other than if the sheriff, maybe the other departments are,
Today's change order.
well, that's we're transferring from to another fund, so yeah. it's a question.
Chris mentioned something about,
Line by line.
okay,
So what we've been told before is as long as the bottom line did not exceed the budget the elected official was approved.
okay,
And that's all we really had to look at. But there was some clarification that was actually discussed at my first meeting 2 weeks ago, that every line item should be adjusted. Well, it got a little overwhelming the past couple of days with looking at all the departments that, you know, whether they're social security, retirement, material, everything, all the adjustments that would have to be made. So we're just looking at the bottom
it's the bottom
bottom
line.
line, and hopefully we won't have any go over. We did have some that went over last year because of the improvement project. We had a lot of invoices come in the last week, and it did affect, I think we got wrote up for about 5 or 6 departments. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen this year.
Anything else? Heard a motion. Yes, sir.
We talked about putting that into or creating a line item somewhere. I don't think we ever figured out how to do it yet.
No, because we're talking about whether we're putting it in because we paid for the canine seminar. Whether it was gonna go in the canine fund, or whether it was gonna go in the general county fund, or whether we were gonna establish a separate fund. Because when we get to it, what we're gonna be paying it is for meals and things like that.
If we wanna table that for another meeting.
And we have to take care of that now.
Well, that.
Plus-
Year.
Actually.
Contacted
Um,
Kim about that yet? Got anything?
Mako,
Mhm.
I think Mark had talked to
They
you.
got a meeting coming up here before short. I can't remember what it is yet.
Talked to him, he told me he talked to somebody and he said he thought it was gonna be pretty good.
Do you want to attend that meeting that they have? I don't know yet. He told me the other day, and I got so much going on in this little head of mine, I can't keep up with everything. He's going to text me. I'll get it to you when you have it.
Do we wanna,
we'll daughter say, if we can have a pending approval, if I can communicate with the state auditors, and I didn't think to ask them when I was there last week. And see what they recommend, whether we put it in general county in a separate department, whether we open a separate fund, or whether we put it in the K-9 fund. Those would be probably three options.
My thought process would be putting in canine, since it is gonna be canine, seminar that would be my thought process. And our thought process isn't always the same as the state auditor's office, so.
Thanks.
Okay, so you need to approve the budget. And a pending.
We have a separate motion on the budget revision,
Okay.
and then a separate motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
I second that.
And then you need a motion to approve for pending.
Pending the recommendation from the auditor's office, whether we put it in general county and just a current, or whether we open a separate fund, or whether we just put it in the K-9 fund.
If it's simple, put that in K-9.
It would be.
I'll make that motion. I'm not gonna repeat it.
I'll solve that.
Okay.
Okay, and then also there you have a current expenditure, so you can look at each department's and you can see all the little line items that are over, but like I said, you're looking at your overall, and then behind that, have, the revenue report. And as I mentioned, we are at 104% of our estimated revenues.
The bottom, I mean,
Yes. It's in two seconds.
yes.
So as I've had discussion with some of the other elected officials, and Joe had already submitted this one to transfer 4176 from the maintenance equipment to her record.
Yeah, let's do that. I noticed you've seen. Let's stop for a minute and bring this up about the drones here. You're not worried about the other things you got on here? About the increase for resource officers, we'll handle that later. Or the deputies, update on applications for the deputies, you wanna hold them to later since you're not here? And we'll just do your optics and drones.
Again, spending their role. There's still enough in 980 to cover the cost of the drones, which the package that they're giving us is for 2 drones, one of which I've tried to get with him to be able to set up a demo for you guys to see this, because you really need to. One drone can be flown at any time.
Now, you guys have one drone.
Sir, the drones we have there and nowhere near. That's the truth. That's the truth.
I was to one of the demonstrations ever.
These drones, you need to see the demonstration.
Okay, I want to fly
Well, you can do that. But the one drone can be flown, matter of fact, the flood that we had. That drone could have been flown in that rainstorm and anywhere, places we could not go to. And we would have been able to not only visually see that, but if we seen people stranded, we could have, you can talk to them through the drone.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And tell them, and when I say talk to them, I'm talking 250 feet in the air, can hear it plain as day.
Wow.
I've got a hearing appointment at 10:30, I'm deaf, I heard it.
Jeez.
The combo package that the guy presented to me, the total for the two, now we're only getting the one all-weather drone. Is what we had quoted to us. The other one is just as good, it cannot be flown in all weather. But the package for one of each came to $27,909. That's saving $7,882.
27 what? 27.
$27,909.
And you got the money to cover that?
I do. However, I'm back and forth right now with Motorola on two separate bills, both for $15,000, but we found both are included in our contract, which is why we're discussing this. We don't feel like we owe that bill. Both contracts, the previous bill included the cloud storage. So. I mean, just here, won't say recently, but my standing on it is I'm not paying it because our contract included that cloud storage, and that is what this bill is specifically for. However, even if we did purchase them, that's still leaving.
I will say we needed a drone the other day in Hutchinson.
Yeah, oh, I- yeah.
They're trying to look at
Those things we have now are just.
You should have flown that Walmart drone, maybe in the law school.
I spoke to the rep today and asked for a demonstration with the three of you. You really need to see it, regardless of whether it's approved or not today.
I'm into the techie tool, not toy, tool.
These systems come with, the drones that we have now, you fly with the screen, your cell phone. These come with basically an iPad size.
And you need that big so that you can see.
It also comes with a case, which is like a 32-inch TV in the case, which if you have a crowd of people and you're in a critical incident, and you have numerous people that need to see this, you're sitting here watching it on a TV screen.
That's good.
It's,
Now this, just to clear this up, thermal optics, you've already taken care of that.
they're waiting for,
Okay.
after today, once you all sign that and Lauren issues me the check, I can go pick them up.
So right now you're interested.
Again, I have the money in the 980 to cover that.
Okay, do I hear motion? You got a question?
Back to what we were talking about before, the issue is with the Motorola.
I think you need a drone. That's just.
Does it have the thermal capability? for
They
search and
have
rescue?
thermal night vision capability. And we flew the drone in the daytime from Fountain Fire Department, and we hit, and this was in the daytime, and we observed people walking in and out, and this was straight up from the Fountain Fire Department. Watch people walk in and out of the Dollar General under thermal in the daytime.
Yeah, just a. I was just gonna say, I was at Green County when they went ahead and approved that drone. They can distinguish between a human being and a deer with thermal. They were using it for the hot spots when they had the fires. That's what they wanted it for. But also, they said they can equip it with the speaker.
Both of
They
these,
can also equip it with a basket. There's an Alzheimer's patient that's gotten out or somebody's lost. If they see them, they can have a basket with an emergency blanket and bottles of water. They can fly over and say, hey, we see you. We're going to bring this down, get the basket and whatever out. And we've already pinpointed your location for the rescuers. Do not move. And
it has the capability of geographically tagging anything. If we have a Alzheimer's patient or somebody lost, we find them, that drone set up the spotlights, and you can see them at 400 feet in the air during the daylight. You can see both of them.
Joel, Lauren just put it out, it's over the $15,000 threshold, has to go. That's state code, it's not our.
That's something.
what's that?
Maybe nothing small.
Oh, what piece that you do?
That's called stringing. I learned about that last audit.
You learned about that.
And Grant County was brought up, just look at the need and requirement for our sheriff. The Hampshire County Sheriff Department has 2 drones by itself. And Director Hamrick, Emergency Services, was awarded another $15,000. So this department also has. So if we have Grant, Hampshire County around them, should another county also have. If not, only for Joe Wood, Prisoner, also for Luke McKenzie at this meeting too.
I know Joe's gonna have to leave, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
5 minutes.
where you gotta go to?
Oh, I can say that.
Heritage hearing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we can put it out for bid relatively quickly, but it does have to go out for bid.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah.
I'll get you the particulars, everything these drones have on them, that way they.
Yeah, just send me over the quote and I can just do an RFP on it and I can try to get it out and have it legal in next week.
and to clarify this, to make a big old, I move, we put this out. for bid.
I'll send it in.
I agree.
And make sure you send me the salesman's contact information too, so I can send him.
You're just getting the quote at the moment. That way you have it, and I'll get you everything else later today, if that works.
Yeah, that's fine.
If, you do me a favor,
Like,
real quick, and I want to let you go. I knew you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Back to the, assessor's budget revision.
No, not yet. Because we jumped down there to Joel to take care of that drum. Okay, do I hear a motion on the budget revision? Budget revision.
This is the 4176.
Yes.
I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second that, and I approve that also. All right, Conley for his 30-year service increment.
Okay, so you all did approve the, step increases several months ago. When they came about, Mr. Conley met his 30-year mark last year. At the time last year, that step was only $1,000. That step is now $3,000. He is requesting consideration to receive that difference of the $2,000. It will be another 10 years before anybody else gets to the 30-year mark.
My personal opinion. That's what, it would be fair to do that if that's what we changed the schedule to.
Yeah.
I thought we were waiting for him to get there before we got his kid.
30 years. Yeah, 30 years. He met his 30 years last year. But at the time it was only $1,000 increment. And then a couple months ago, you approved that the 30 years would actually be 3,000. Because 10 years is 1,000, 20 years, 2,000, 30 years, 3,000, 40 years, 4,000. But 11 years before anybody else gets to the 30-year mark.
I'm in favor with my concern is that it's going to open up doors that other people might look back and is there anybody else that got
Everybody else
20 years
30.
next year? Well, then what about 10 or 20
We're
years?
gonna 10 or 20, yeah, my own. It's 20.
They get 30 years, what they.
This thing was higher, it's 2 months after I was born, 10/18/1994.
So we're talking October. He's got 30, this year he'll have 30. 31. When this, when the steps take place, do they, that actual step goes into the check?
July first, we don't do it actual date of hire, because then every single pay, I mean, you know, we have
Okay,
90
so-
employees, so
He didn't get that step July 1 last year, did he?
yes, because with the steps, it's anything, anybody hired up until December 31st. So anybody up to December 31st would get that step for that year. So his first year, got hired in October, so as of December, he met the requirement to get that step in July, even though he hadn't actually truly got his full year in. We do it by the December 31st date, because you had to set a date. And with the steps, I mean, you know, yes, it would be ideally to do it on their hire date, but there's every single pay, you would be making adjustments every single pay because of the
Yeah.
hire dates.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I asked if it was after they had their year service, but, I see what you're saying. You look forward to, till the first half of the year. If anybody, if that would take place, then you go ahead and put it in the.
And we've had been hired before December 31st of that year, because then we're doing our budgets in March to go into effect in July.
So 10 and 20 are the substantial raises, right?
Yes, because 5, 15, and 25, 35 years of 5 are 750.
Looks like the only people that hit any of those thresholds,
Within the
like
last year.
this, yeah, because I don't think there's anybody.
Yes,
No, there that hit it this year, but that would have missed the.
no, we would look, we would have got it last year, and there was a couple people that did get increments last year.
I don't see anyone who would have hit their milestone last year. I mean, there's lots of 10s on here this year, but I don't see any like previous.
Can we,
That's based on very pre.
can we,
You want me to confirm that? Next meeting?
yeah, let's do that.
Would you do budget revision for that as well, for the pay increase?
Yeah, he could be on council,
I would, well, and I would like to,
because it's only one pay for this fiscal year.
well, and then, and I actually would like to, make it effective.
I would say I would best say 21 or 30, as long as it came to 10 this year. But I mean, obviously.
Now, I asked him to get us a list of how many is going to be affected by 10 years or 20 years.
Oh, that's.
Yeah. Okay, you wanna do the, OEM director request?
Yeah, so we had Gloria is leaving us full time. She asked if she could stay on part time, so I'd just like to move her from full time status to part time status and change over her rate of pay to the part time rate of pay for the employees.
I don't want to adjustments back.
I don't think it's a controversial thing.
It's
but
not.
if you want to, you can, doesn't matter to me.
I'm gonna make a motion, we accept that.
And I second that also. I'll tell him when he gets back. How about your other new employees?
One of the, so there was 3 people we were gonna hire through the testing process. One of them found another job that more closely aligns with their skill sets. 2 people, Justin Cook and Serena Robeson. So they've passed testing, came in for interviews, and I believe he's not. No, female cook, Jessica is not. She does not. Well, and we just started because of problems. Anyone we're hiring, even prior to the drug test, they've got a 3-page statement they have to hire, that they have to read and agree to, that says they understand their schedule can be changed anytime, that the amount of hours they have to work, all of those things, is we've got to make it more real to people when they're starting. The job requires a lot of sacrifice, unfortunately, so. We had approval to hire those two, and we're still gonna work on third. But that does fill us back up. Third.
Looking, Serena Robinson.
Not Robertson, Robeson? No, I've said Robertson 100 times, it's not.
There's an R in there, but I know it's not.
Yeah. I'll second that motion. Okay. Drainage system petition.
So this petition, okay, so this petition has not actually been given to you all yet. I don't know if the signatures have been gathered. However, it came to the email. I think I forwarded one to you. So Georgia, Florida, Carolina Avenue, all of those down there across from the middle school. They got water during the flooding, and they put out a petition to get the drainage system fixed. I could not find the phone number for the person who started the petition. It doesn't give you any contact information. I was able to find her address, so I sent her a letter and said, please call me so I can figure out what exactly you're asking for. Eileen and I did go down and look at it, yes, well, because the Cumberland Times called me. So Eileen and I went and looked at it yesterday, and look, so right by the Royal Air Building, you're going south of the Royal Air Building, right there on the north side of BB&T, the south side of that extra lot he owns that's for sale. There is a culvert that goes under New Creek Highway. And that creek comes from, that stream comes from, I don't really know where. We tried to track it out, but it's way overgrown. Anyways, during flooding, like everywhere else, a ton of stone washed down through that culvert. And the creek, the stream on the other side of the culvert was already blocked up. So water got into, I guess, her house and a couple of other people's houses. It was mostly in yards. But they want that fixed. Now, just the same as I told the Cumberland Times and what I put in that letter, we want to help you, but it's not something we can even do. After I looked at it, I did send the pictures over to Steve Starcher at West Virginia Soil Conservation Agency, and I've not heard back yet. I just sent them to like 4:15 yesterday. I don't know what else we can do, but because it was a public petition, I wanted to bring it to you all to see if you had any recommendations. We looked, because she initially talked about the culvert. There's nothing on the culvert. It's a very nice culvert. And there's nothing in there. It's the stream that is not wide enough.
Where's it go to?
It goes into New Creek.
These are the streets here, Florida, Carolina, Georgia Avenue.
It ultimately flows to New Creek, but really that creek dries up sometimes even. It's definitely just runoff. But they did get, I can show you some of the pictures.
One of the conversations I had with Steve Starcher, I think if he
Maybe he did, and that's someone's back there. And watched him do it.
Oh, wow. He was, yeah, he may have been looking down already. I don't know. So what streets there?
This is the.
That was Florida, like where Chessie is. Florida Avenue is Chessie.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know where that.
Oh, it's the last house on the end. On Florida.
I'm telling you.
No,
Have you been
no,
up
it's
there?
not, well, that, yes, the picture I just, those were not the people complaining. The picture I showed you is that
person
person.
here.
It runs into New Creek.
Are there like little stream?
There's a little stream down through there right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Up there.
Goes across
Look at that picture.
That's
Yep.
it.
It's a very small stream.
It is, it's all overgrown. But
And I unfortunately don't know that they're gonna love the answer, but I think it's probably on each individual private property owner down through there if conservation agency can't fix it.
yeah, conservation agent won't do anything with it.
Because I'll,
Individual owners.
I was honestly hoping it was gonna be Department of Highways, but after I looked at it, it's definitely not. The culvert's in really good shape.
So really, there's nothing we can do.
Well, no, but I just wanted to let you guys know about it, because like I said, the Cumberland Times called me yesterday.
It's very simple, it's exact similar, situations with how Stony Run is and that kind of thing. We try to get other people involved, like the soil conservation or the NRCS, and hopefully they'll do something about it, but if they don't, I mean, there's nothing.
Right.
We definitely don't have the capacity to be able to do something like that. And then, you know, and the cost to do something like that. Is
Oh, no, because that's going to be substantial conflict now. There's a lot of.
You're talking about hauling away a lot of rock and. So, we're trying to talk to Mr. Carter, about if they will spend the money or we're at that.
But I just wanted to make you all aware of it, because it is so. I think I sent a petition to your all's email, but I want to make sure. it's talked about.
But didn't say how many people signed the petition or anything.
And I don't think it was a substantial number. And I know like one person who signed it was from Orlando, Florida. So.
Sounds like Tucker County. You want to wait on this, first, right?
Yeah, we can do that after, 'cause since they need the room, it's gonna be all executive session, and there's not gonna be a decision today. I just need to.
You wanted to speak?
Sure, if it's okay, I appreciate it.
Yes, sure.
Would you like me to sit podium? What's
Wherever you're comfortable.
I'll just sit down and, hey, first of all, I just want to introduce myself. My name's, Tony Campbell. I'm a resident of Mineral County, live in, Port Ashley. I'm probably one of the newest members of Mineral County here. I retired. I have, over 30 years of active military service. I retired as an Army colonel.
Thank you.
And no, it's great being here. And my wife and I retired here, built a house. We love it. Really great place to live. But first of all, the other day I said, hey, what do the county commissioners do? I salute you, gentlemen. You guys do a great job. Everybody in the room appreciate it. I want to appreciate Delegate Hildebrand for his pioneering, really leading this issue of the power lines. That's why I'm here. So although my property is not impacted immediately, some adjacent property is, and some of my neighbors are impacted by these power lines. And so I've been contacted by Donna Brooksett, some other folks in Hampshire County. We formed an organization called West Virginians Against Transmission Injustice. We had like 6 names. They picked that name on Wadi. But anyway, so it's just a grassroots nonprofit, just an organization to try to basically counter the power lines. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of misinformation going out about the power lines, right? I think the power companies are saying, "And what do you want to hear?" And I'll say it. You know what I'm saying? And so the bottom line, these power lines, they do nothing for West Virginia. These power lines, all they do for West Virginia is ruin our landscape, and that's the truth. These are powering data centers, predominantly data centers in Northern Virginia. There's 300 already constructed, and this is just to do more data centers in West Virginia. That's it. We get nothing out of this. In fact, I don't want to take too much time, but there's a study that came out you guys might be interested in. It's by the Institute for Energy Economics Financial Analysis. It's a worldwide group that looks at power distribution. And on the 29th of May, just a few weeks ago, they published an article that says in the next 2 years, West Virginians will pay $40 million as a result of these transmission lines. So we're not getting money back. We're paying for something and we get nothing out of it. And so I'll get off my stumps. I'll get off the soapbox. But I feel pretty passionate about this. And so we've organized. We've probably pushed over 100 members now, easy, just in 2-3 weeks. The Hampshire Reviews published an article. I think I talked to a reporter in Cumberland yesterday. She's going to write an article. I think same thing here in Kaiser. But our goal is just basically right now is to organize and then inform people of what's really going on. Because I really take my hats off tomorrow, next era energy, because the only people that know about this are the people who are going to be directly impacted. So they send out notifications to just impacted property. And so most of the folks in Hampshire and Mineral County have no idea what's going on. So we were lucky enough to get a spot at the upcoming Mineral County Fair. We'll be there. Our goal is not to rush you guys. I appreciate what you said, Dutch, earlier. but we want to inform citizens of what's going on and let them know about how to influence the decision, which is going to be made by the PSC, the Public Service Committee, and how to reach out to their state delegates, senators. I think there's some senators that I think are still buying the power line narrative, unfortunately. The governor and really ultimately start reaching out to the PSC, because once the PSC is notified of the application goes from NextEra Energy to the PSC, I think this fall, it's about a 2-year process for them to review this. But, we can influence this, we can stop it. And, the last thing I'll say is, these are just two, for Mineral County, it's the Morrow line through Hampshire County. Right now it's Valley Link and Morrow. And there's some talk of maybe 6 or 7 additional lines the next 10 years. We talked about addiction earlier, opioid addiction. I tell you, Virginia's got energy addiction. They consume twice as much power as they produce. It's not stopping.
From my understanding, you correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not allowed to do it.
So they're new. I think it's called the Clean Energy Act. They passed in 2012, forbids any fossil fuel plants being constructed in Virginia. And then the flip side of the act is PJM, who runs our grid network for this area of the country. So when there's an energy need, consumers like the data centers, the states, they go to PJM and say we need more power. So the only remedy that PJM has is to say we'll take power from this plant and take it over to this requirement, right? But they can't tell a state you need to fix your own problem, generate power closer to where you need to consume it. So that's not within PJM's authority. So they're doing the best they can, but their only solution is more power lines.
And there's another one coming through in Mineral County.
I'm sure.
That's a Valley Link.
That Valley goes through.
Let's
go through 14 counties. Valley will go through 14 counties.
I've got some text on it.
So
That's going to go through. I
don't think anybody wants to have them. Like you said, sir, I think Dutch, you said you haven't talked to one person in our county. No one wants this.
And even the people that don't even know anything about it or hear about it, and they're asking what's going on, and why are these people against it, and they want to benefit the county. I'm like, no, it's I use analogies a lot, and it's like putting an interstate through Mineral County, but the entire state. But it's putting an interstate through with no exits, no off ramps, and we got to pay for it.
That's right. That's right, sir. That's right. So, I went to their NextEra's meet and greet at the airport. I tell you, it was like, the impression I got was, here you go, live with it. It was like the arrogance that they showed at that meeting was. But just wanted to inform you what we're doing. I was going to ask you to do a resolution, Dutch.
That needs to be done.
You already said it. We've drafted some. I've got some products drafted. We're really going to try to get out there and inform people. Like, this is what's going on. Try to stop it. There's a lot of misinformation going on. There's a lot. I think one of the senators, I want to mention his name, said he talked to PJM and guaranteed that Hampshire County would be a substation. We talked to the PJM last week. PJM said this senator has never talked to them, and there's not going to be a substation in Hampshire County.
So, well, and I'm going to emphasize that point, as I said before, in my conversations, I've talked, this is in the letter with PJM First Energy, next year's leadership. First Energy has exclusive rights, if you would, substation construction in this part of West Virginia. Next year.
Yes, sir. And so, I applaud you guys for taking that step. I know, Dutch, I think you took some heat a couple of weeks ago at Don's place. Was that you out there?
I was actually Rick.
Yeah, I was holding the lightning rod and electric fence at the same time.
It looks like you shot it.
I think Rick's fatal words was, "I don't have a dog in the fight." And that pretty much they jumped on him.
I wasn't there. I heard about it.
Colonel Campbell, Senator Thorne, I want to open.
Well, I didn't want to say his name.
I was there. They got Brother Foster.
Yeah.
And not only did the county commissioners write the letter against it. The sheriff also co-signed.
Yeah, sure, did too.
Very powerful letter. Yes, sir. So I appreciate your time, gentlemen. Thank you for your. That's all.
Anybody else? Sure. We're pretty much done. Executive session will be no more decision. We will take it for an instant. Well, we can do the sheriff. Well, I didn't think you would do this since he wasn't here.
That's what he might do. He
Oh,
thought-
you're
yeah.
gonna take care of them? Oh, okay, I'm sorry about that.
His request, because we figured out some numbers for him. Not sure if I purchased. So you approved, the pro officers to, be civil service and their, entry level deputies, which was the, starting salary of the 50,000. They didn't realize because their current pay is actually divided by 20 pays.
Yeah.
And then they got additional for the summer, and now their pay is divided by 24, so they actually, their check was actually going to be less than what they thought, and so that conversation came out of what we're making. What is kind of requested, Mr. Hudson just hired in,
He's been here.
October.
Yeah.
October. So he would get the step this year, which is the $600. Rumor has been here 5 years, and Clark has been here 7. So they are requesting consideration to receive the steps they would have gotten for those years. Now, those prior years, the step was $400, not $600. And then, of course, the 5-year increment is a different amount. So, for Mr. Clark, I think it came to about 2,400 added to his, and I think Rumors was 2,600, if I recall.
I can give you 600 for doing
And then 600 for John, because of the years, again, it was $400 prior to this year. And, so as in Clark's, it's 7 years, so for the 6 years would have been $400, year 5, you would have gotten an increment for year 5, and then, but it's the steps as they would have been, not what they are now.
it. 2,400.
It's around 2,400, and then River was 1,600. Plus, I don't have that. I've been working on a lot of figures the last couple of days, but
Can you get definite numbers for us?
yes, I have definite numbers. I didn't print that off.
Get some definite numbers. I don't have a problem with it, which, we discussed with them about when the public service, we talked about the salary. They knew that their paycheck was going to go down because there would be 24 days instead of 20. They understood that. So they knew that. However, this would be, I was wondering how we could kind of jump them up a little bit, just because they're not necessarily bringing them into the deputies, they are starting with the basics. But they've already had this time in, and I wouldn't have a problem with this, but I would like to have some definite.
600 for Hudson, because that's this year's increment. He is just getting this year's increments. He just started in October. And then I want to say River has 5 years and Clark has 6 years.
And commissioners, you had asked me to reach out to the auditor's office about like the incentive, sign-on incentives for switching, and the legality of that is questionable. They said they really can't answer it, but it would be, it would definitely be, you'd have to be counsel, but probably. Yeah. It's possible.
We could do this.
Oh, yes, that for sure. But I'm saying the incentive.
Yeah, part of that
This
incentive
happens.
was for relocation, was the intention of it.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Yeah, let's get some definite numbers.
Joel called me and he said that with the 2 different drones, the one is 9,000, the other one is 18. He said, can we go ahead and purchase the 9 and put the 18 out for bid?
That's, I mean, that technically would be legal, but that's up to you all. I mean, if we're gonna bid it, we might as well.
I'll make a motion letting. And, yeah. I'll second.
We're getting it cheaper.
probably some savings because of,
I don't think. Actually, if she would buy both of them. We need to talk to Joel, because he knows how to do it. I'm in favor of getting. Like, putting out a big amount of award while you make a decision. Yeah.
he sent me, let me see if it's-
He, Joel. Yeah. $8,000, $1,000. Tom's killing us. Okay. So what about, we're gonna delay this step, resource officer for. Yeah, we get better information, get more accurate numbers. Does he have anything on the application for the deputy sheriff?
Talked about it, but I think it's something he needs to mention.
I do too.
We are testing this weekend. We have lots of testing.
Good. So we might get one good. Is it possible? Time you can do the. Keep saying that. Okay, want to do the reports now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to do the report.
Okay, so at the last meeting, we had discussed financial documents I've received in reference to the financial reviews that are required for the fire levy funds. Touched base with them. Long story short, some agencies don't feel like they are or don't interpret. They don't believe they are required to truly have all of their funds. Not all of their funds are subject to review simply based on the levy. I had a couple of conversations.
You're talking about the fire?
They feel like, and they might be right. I called Sally, talked to this particular company did talk to an attorney, and they said that that attorney did not feel like they are obligated to share all of those. The levy funds, there's an absolute obligation because we are responsible for how that money is spent. The other funds, the reason I brought that up to begin with was because the fire protection money did not have a required account to go into, and it was about accountability of that. I don't know if we have the grounding to force the issue. My understanding is we can absolutely hold based on a financial review of the levy funds, but not financial review of all funds. So the only way to get a clear answer would be for me to speak to an attorney and just get a letter that tells us what our levy order doesn't mention. I didn't know how you all wanted to proceed.
The MOU doesn't strictly state that.
Well, the MOU says expenditures, does not list an account.
I also talked to your auditor. Yes.
Yeah, and so my only problem, because I agree, so the MOU does just say expenditures, which that doesn't outline its expenditures of the department, so it would be all accounts. However, the MOU was signed under the terms that we were not releasing levy funds until MOUs were signed. Out the agreements. So it's, yeah, what do you all want me to do? I can speak to Wendy about it and get an opinion. We can just require the review of the levy account. The majority of the departments don't care and are just doing the review because it's good practice, but actually no one else has said anything. Something like that.
Brand new proper MOU and say something.
I don't and see all of that. At this point, we definitely, because the The attorney they spoke to is also just a local attorney. They're not someone who specializes even deals with this kind of thing. So like, that's not me discrediting that person as an attorney by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not someone who deals with this. I think I could probably have it solved with a 1 hour conversation with Wendy or someone at PFF. Because I can't ever remember how to say it. So I will reach out to them the next day. I'm definitely not going to. Okay. We did, the facilities associate job was posted. We only had 2 people come for interviews. They were both very nice gentlemen, like them both. However, I feel like we should have a couple more choices before we make a choice. So I reposted the job. If you all want to interview those 2, you're welcome to. Like I said, we like them. The Lily, I guess technically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like I said, whoever, it's an open maintenance job. So you guys can interview them. Like I said, we only had 2. I feel like we should have a couple more to choose from. We had 7 resumes. We tried to schedule 4, and we only got 2. Are you all okay? The job has been reposted, but that doesn't mean you can't still make a decision. Are you all want to do on that?
I'm good with, waiting until after it's reposted and see if we get it.
And hopefully I can have some.
Or what is your thoughts on it? Would they be good to hire?
I feel like we should have a couple more.
Okay, well, I didn't want to put you under pressure. I didn't.
No, they were both good guys. They really were, but neither of them had any relevant experience either. And I'd just rather have. I mean, I realized we're desperate for people, but hiring out of desperation has never worked out well for me.
Okay.
So, we received our application for the Courthouse Facilities Improvement Authority grant. I'm not asking you all to approve this today, but I need to know what you want me to explore. I know you all were just talking about pavement, but we've also for the last several years been talking about the courtroom is what we would do once the project was done. The judges have asked multiple times about the jury box being moved and just stuff as simple as new carpets and stuff like that. So do you all,
Yeah.
oh, carpet desperately, yes. So do you all want me to proceed forward with putting a project budget together for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we can all, I guess, I don't know, I don't think you're allowed to submit for more than 1 project, so whatever we submit for, we'll be submit for. But I do think that's a project that will get support, like fun. Now, the next question is, I had talked to the majority of the room isn't a big deal, but I really would rather have some drawings for the jury box relocation and like the sound equipment and all of that. I talked to Tom briefly and he gave me some budgetary numbers, not for construction administration or anything beyond basic designs. Cause I don't feel like it's good for our bid document to just say build a jury box. Like I do think there needs to be a spec jury box. I think there needs to be schematics. So budgetary number, Tom said drawings and things to get us to a point of construction pretty preliminary would be about $4,000, or he'd be willing to do it on hourly rates if we would spend less or need help. So that's something we would need to do sooner though, but I do think it would help with the application and certainly when we go to bid, I don't want to just say build a jury box like that. So here's the problem. If we do design now, we're not, will not pay for it. And I really do feel like it's something we need to do now rather than after the grant is awarded, but because I don't even know how to get budgetary numbers without having a basic design. So this cost would be one, the commission.
But we can still use that to put the application in the courthouse facilities for the rest of the project.
Yes, yeah, we could use the design to submit, but we won't be able to be reimbursed. It'll just be a commission cost.
And you will involve the judges.
We've involved the judges from the beginning. It's just unfortunately very hard to please everybody. But yes, no, absolutely, because they're the ones who want the jury involved to move and all that stuff. Yes.
Any other part of the courthouse that would needs to be dust up, refurbished?
The cap on the project is 100,000, right? And we will eat all of that. I'd be sure. Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, it'll be less, but I think once we really start looking at it, thinking what we do, I think we can eat 100,000 on shares. Right. And you're probably looking at, you're probably at 15 or 20 in carpet and install. Because the commercial carpet we buy, I think, well, I don't know, this building, I think we only had, I don't know, but or we could easily be a 10 in flooring alone.
Get rid of the squeaky, seats for the audience.
We can definitely, and that's what I need to start working. The application's not due till early submission. Pre-review deadline is September 8th. I always submit way before that, but we have some time, but it's also not that much time. But I can bring up the project budget back to you all and decide what things you want to do.
I'm in favor of the full grant for preliminary design or basic design.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, so he also said he could just do hourly, and if it's less, it's less. But his hourly is 180. Is what the standard rate is. But those are just like
I told him he's killing.
these are standard design rates. Then.
You know, we take donation, you can donate your time as well.
All donations appreciated.
I know you built that.
I tell you
For
what,
the last 3 years, you've been doing
as much time as he has spent here after working with after AJ's worked with Bethesda, I can see what that really looks like. And it's definitely not Tom, because I talk to Tom 18 times a week. I don't have to schedule a meeting just to get an answer.
What do you guys think? The earlier? No. Is that what you want to definitely pay earlier or we'll pay it?
I think we're still trying to hit the target here, so maybe we do some preliminary stuff. I've already got a lot of drugs, so maybe we just figure out what we need right now.
Can we do up to 4,000? Yeah, let's make that a motion. Early, up to 4,000.
A second, then I approve that.
He's gonna get down to the 11th hour. He's like, just like, start throwing stuff around. Just kidding.
I did want to give a shout out to our maintenance guys. We unfortunately were not able to get help from the city, even in city limits. So our facilities guys have done everywhere the Southern Baptist came in and mucked out basements and took the stuff. Our maintenance guys have done all of the hauling for it. They put a ton of days and time into that. It is absolutely not their job. They've not complained. And they've really worked hard at it. And if they wouldn't have done it, I don't know how we would have taken care of it. So I really just want to praise them. We were not able to get help from any other entities, and they've been working on that. They were handling some really nasty stuff, and we don't have the tools to do any of it well. Dutch and I had a conversation about that. We don't have any tools that are helpful for this kind of thing, and our dump trailer is tiny, so they're taking like 10 loads from a single house. It's but I did want to give them a huge shout out because they've definitely made a difference, and that's not something they have to do.
Yeah, next time that does happen, there was a church, they thought they were taking care of all that, or else they would have went on hold.
Oh, okay. Well, that is helpful to know. Yeah, because no, they were just leaving in the yard and calling us. And
yeah. He was the first group of First Baptist that did all of it.
Okay.
Western Fork. They had the tractors, they had everything. all.
And that was my initial assumption too, that I thought when these people were looking at these basements, they were gonna make sure they got it to the dumpster. We was just buying a dumpster and that didn't work out at all.
Well, and I don't want anyone to think I'm trash talking Southern Baptist because they've done a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
really good and
They
important
did,
work.
they,
And I just don't think they have the equipment to haul it. I don't know, but they've done a lot of work. That's not me trash talking them at all.
but
But
that's,
our guys, I did want to commend them because they've worked hard.
when I went up there and looked at the one street there with Doug that day, and I was gonna try to take care of that, and situation didn't happen, but they were up there, they had everything out in the basement, they was trying to get her, they had a pressure washer there to clean up the basement. And it was a, equipment, I mean, it was a pressure washer that they had to fiddle with and fool with to get running, and it didn't wanna run right, and they had to, they was having difficulty getting it going, so it isn't like they're just, loaded up with money or anything.
And everything they do is based on donation. They were definitely a blessing.
I'll go along with Michelle out there and make it. I also want to add in, I know it's a paid service, but the Nolly Mountain Hauling, very short notice, they had 3 dumpsters here for us to use in the county. And whenever I called to get them dumped, they were right on it. One time, I think it was like a day before they got in there, and it was just because I called late in the day. The next morning, they was there and got them dumped, and we shut out to them, so. But that's a big service, and
Yes. So next thing I have, as we get close to the end of the project. Now, so there is some concrete as part of the project, but not all. Tom has plans for concrete, but it's for like the plaza and stuff. After you all decided not to put the memorial there, and you might want to, but I don't know that it makes sense to truly concrete all that. We could do landscaping stuff, whatever, save a lot of square yardage in concrete. But I've had 2 people who want to bid. You all need to go look at it and see what you want prices on. The concrete. Yeah, the our guys. So, because like I said, Tom has plans, but if you guys aren't going to do the memorial and stuff on that plaza, I don't know if it makes sense to lay another several hundred square feet of concrete just for an empty place. So I just need to look to see where you all are going to want sidewalk and how it'll be laid out.
okay.
Also, yes, Aaron spoke to you too. He called Nelson Concrete and they are going to take care of tearing all that concrete up and putting new down. He blames the manufacturer and source of the concrete. He doesn't usually use them. He said before, he said, I don't know, there's a lot of factors, it doesn't matter. He did say he would take care of it. He also wants the opportunity to bid on the other side. So I'm hoping he can come and take care of that pretty soon. And I can't even talk to him, but he said he was going to come. Oh, it's right here.
He's, I did talk to him. He is busy. He's hard to get a hold of. And my business, I've used him several times, many times. And we did have another job. It was a very similar situation. And it was one batch of concrete and it just literally blew up. So
Yeah, he said the people we bought it from don't ever stand behind them.
no, the job that I had him. Yeah, we'll do something, and then they ghosted me. But he did absolutely stand behind that job. And I told him that he needed to get a hold of somebody because he needed to stand behind this as well.
Well, they've done other ones. Like the front sidewalk and all that is fine. It's just this big pad on the back. So I talked to him on June 2nd. He was hoping to be able to get to it relatively soon. The only other thing I have is the hot water heaters at the jail. I know you've been super busy.
I need to get Tom. Me and Tom texted me there, and I need to
no better time than present to go here right after this meeting.
We probably could.
Yeah, well, we've got an executive session too. Yeah.
You free here after?
That's all.
Pride opening house for their central, whatever their Roger was there for that. Well, May 30th, had a chase car meeting. For several hours over that. June 3rd, had a development authority board meeting. I attended that through Zoom. June 6th, so June 6th was the courthouse, one through Krista. Very aware of those. Also do state summit with Kim Shoemaker. Krista talks to me about IDs for the employees, badges. So talked to Karen. Karen said it is very possible for them to do all that at the sheriff's building. Employees can go over and get their picture. She just needs to get the new seal, and they'll put it into the computer, and then they can make ID badges for everybody, and then they can have a list. The sheriff's office can have a list of all the employees as well. Who got those ID badges. That's for pennies on the dollar. And I talked to Joel about it as well, and he said he would be more than happy with the ID badge. Biggest challenge is the employees going from one building to the next, always getting stopped at security, if they can just flash their badges, keep going through. Is the biggest complaint that Krista had for that. So,
And 911 is a capability as well. We already have the seals who can do them.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
we figured that to do. Talking to Joel, but he said it'd be better for the sheriff's department to have the list because they're the ones who monitor everybody.
Yeah, that's it is not as cheap as you think. The ink is several $100s when you order it. It only lasts for like 100 badges at a time.
Okay.
But whatever. I mean, that's fine. But I can definitely send. Who do I need to send the new seal to?
It's gonna be Karen, but her email address, Karen should be.
Yeah.
She would set it all up.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So that's how I got on the topic with her for those.
Maybe stomach.
So,
I bet.
Thing.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know if we have to make a motion to make that happen for the, that's just something we can just start going for the county employees to have their own badges, but we need to.
With Karen now, and we won't bombard them with everything
Yeah.
to do at the same time.
And then, Strawberry Festival on the 7th. Then Dutch and I was down at the County Commission Association West Virginia Conference. That was June 8th through the 10th. And then also got back from that, went to the Ridgely Town Council meeting last.
Yeah, I was at the new housing dedication building, Moonfield, which is Region 8. They had a special meeting here in the county. Before we moved there. There were several people there and I attended that meeting. For the tests and all them showed up about the things going on out there. That new building, and like I said, we're $400,000 approximately over. And the way it looks, they're trying to help us save money in places where it won't affect the building material. And so I hope we don't run into that when we do the building. He said we wouldn't, but time will tell. I was at the Strawberry Festival and I attended the ballet dance at the high school also. May 28th, I was on a Zoom meeting with the health department. June. Such a Chase Farm. June 3rd, Dale Town Hall meeting, and had a citizen want me to meet them after that meeting. I went to Wally Ford Covenant Church. They had issues. They recently just did some construction and they had some water running off and it's flowing out into the street. And they were getting complaints about it. Found out later on that these people filed a complaint with the state, claiming all the water runoff from the church. So they do have some issues there, but also Department of Highways eliminated the storm drain, and there's also a blockage. There's an obstruction along the shoulder of the street that is in the Department of Highways right of way, and that's causing the water, instead of running down the side of the street, causing across the street and into these houses. So multiple things here that can be done to help that out. The state, Department of Highways, and the church are supposed to meet over that and try to figure things out. June 5th, I was at the Mentor County first meeting about applicants. June 6th, was another Zoom meeting about the health department construction, and was also in a Zoom meeting about Carbondale Sewer Project, their upcoming meeting with the IJDC and the DEP. Also had a family PSD meeting that day. June 8th through 10th, I was in a conference with Stonewall, with Jason. With the architect for Carbondale, Eads, and it was about the Carbondale Sewer Project, and it was with the DEP, the IJDC, Region 8, about that whole project. And that got pretty in depth and trying to get Carbondale's pump stations fixed to eliminate a lot of their water infiltration. JDC and the DEP are really pushing back on their design, what Eads come up with. We tried to run the sewer line through Ridgely, and Ridgely felt like Ridgely was going to give us a little bit of problem out of that. Eads came up with another plan, and the DEP definitely does not like it at all. So, but I think we have a temporary solution to get at least get the pump stations fixed. And that has to do with a little bit with Ridgely too, but there's a lot more work to do before I really go any further with that. Then last night after we got back, I was at the town hall meeting in Ridgely. And over the past 2 weeks, there been a lot of conversations about the chase car and a lot of conversations about the transmission lines. Yeah. And also, while I was at the conference, I was nominated and elected for vice president of the County Commission Association.
Congratulations. I was going to announce that. Forgot.
You forgot.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to announce it. So the meeting with Bethesda, well, I mean, there was 2 of them. And then, yeah, so the 28th was the one. Now, this was just last week. This was, it'd been last Friday, I think. Was it last Friday? That was the 6th. That Friday? Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was weak.
Yeah, you was on there with that one.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Didn't write
too much going on. That was the one he sat there and kept his head down the whole time.
Yeah, it was kind of a joke.
Yeah, it was. But anyway. Morning.
We're almost done.
Yeah, we're almost done. Okay.
Volunteer line, I forgot one thing on 7. I took a group of kids and cleaned up hay fields for a farmer after all the flooding. 5 hours.
No, the executive session, I just need to inform you guys about a couple of things. If you want.
I tell you what, let's do, then just with this going, and we can get out of here. Let's finish the bills.
Exonerations.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to do. Do I hear a motion to approve the accounts payable? So moved. Second, and I approve, how about the exonerations? So moved.
Second.
And how about the estate? So moved. Second. Okay, so that's done. So other than executive meeting with, about the Parks and Rec facility, reckon that'll be it, that we know actions taken. So does anybody have any questions, comments? Into executive session, and then we'll just adjourn once we get done that. Yes. Second, that passes. Is that? Thanks again.